Thanks everyone for joining us today. My name is Kural Arangasamy. I'm a principal TME focused on CASP DLP and AI access in some part. I've been with Palo Alto for 2 years. So I've been in the industry for 25 years as a security focused TME for almost 15 years. I just want to give a quick intro on that. And Himani, can you also introduce yourself quickly?
Sure. Thank you, Kural. Thank you, Shashank. So I'm Himani Singh. I am in this industry for almost 20 years. I have worked as basically a threat engineer. I have a deep understanding of how the threat landscape works, including starting with a simple phishing email to data stolen. I am working in the data security industry for almost 2 years. I have worked as a QA incident management, and now I'm working as a senior TME with data security team. I'm glad to be here.
Thanks, Himani. So in this session, we're going to focus on three things, right? One is the how do we discover GenAI plugins in your environment, and how do we provide visibility into those plugins? What level of security risks they have, and how do we provide control so that you can manage and allow the usage of GenAI plugins in a controlled manner, right? And then the second update is around compliance, AI compliance updates for our SSPM solution. We've been having this compliance mapping for a while. Now we have added additional AI-related compliance, especially in Europe and NIST ones, right? And then finally, Himani will come and talk to you about the new and upcoming next generation AI bots that joins your meetings and provides helpful work, at the same time also brings in additional risks, right? So she will go over those risks and how we help you manage and control those bots as well, right? With that, let's dive deep into the GenAI plugins discovery and control. So if you look at the SaaS apps, many of the SaaS apps like Google Workspace or Microsoft Azure, Office 365, one thing that's common in all of them is they all provide additional capabilities or extend their capabilities through what they call as marketplace apps, right? For example, even this Zoom meeting was initiated through a Zoom plugin within Google Calendar, right? That's one of the plugins that we use to quickly set up a meeting that we normally use as an application approved by the corporate. Similarly, there are hundreds of thousands of apps provided by these marketplace that allows you to add your approved or most commonly used applications through another SaaS application that you're using, right? For example, like I said, Google Workspace allows you to install these marketplace apps. Last time I checked, there were like thousands of applications that is available in Marketplace, and many of them are GenAI plugins that are available, right? Even the GenAI plugins you're using as an application, the same can be used as a plugin through those SaaS apps. It all brings in a lot of benefits in terms of like you're able to use the same app that you're used to. At the same time, you are also bringing in value or bringing in more productivity by using the apps that you're allowed to use or you're normally using to make your day-to-day work easier or add additional benefits to the work that you're doing, right? Then what is the problem with that, right? The problem is a lot of these plugins are installed outside of your environment, meaning it's installed within the cloud. So the cloud, it's a cloud-to-cloud communication, and there is no visibility into those plugins. So admins, as an admin, if you're trying to look for who are all the ones using GenAI plugins, then you don't have any visibility because these are installed directly in the cloud. When you look at the GenAI or AI usage in general, typically enterprises have fall into one of these three buckets. Either they completely block AI applications, they don't want anybody to be using AI. And then the other extreme of it is they don't have any monitoring. Some companies, they simply allow any applications to be used, and users may be using any GenAI application. Most of the companies fall in the middle bucket where they want to know what they're using. They want to allow those GenAI applications usage in a restricted fashion, right? Meaning they want them to be used for productivity use. At the same time, they also want to manage and control such that they are not going out of compliance. There's no data security or data privacy violations, things like that. So for that, you need to be able to monitor these GenAI app usage and how they access data, right? With the plugin that's installed outside of your environment, there is no inline data. There is no way we see these plugins have been installed. It is installed completely in the cloud. There is a problem. The problem is you don't have visibility. As an admin, you don't know who's using these plugins, what kind of plugins are they, and what risks they are bringing in, right? And as an enterprise app, typically you go through vetting process, right? You test and make sure that application that typically users use is suitable to your environment. But as a GenAI plugin, it is created by somebody outside of your environment that you have never tested. So these apps may have security risks, or they may not consider security as a top concern to provide enough security for those applications, right? So that is a risk. And a lot of times these GenAI apps or newer apps created by developers maybe a few days ago, and maybe a few people have already installed, and it's not a app that you would want to see in your environment, right? So that's why it's bringing in additional risks. And the other critical issue is some of these apps disguise as a good app that provides you some valuable service. At the same time, they may be a malwares or malicious apps that try to take the data or try to do things that you wouldn't normally want to see in the app, right? And with the apps exploding on a daily basis in the marketplace, you see hundreds of thousands of apps that's come up every day. There's a lot of new apps that's coming in, and there is no way you can, keep control of all those apps. There are ways that you can still manage these apps through the admin interface through the SaaS apps, like Google Workspace provide option for you to control who can install what apps. But then the problem is you'd have to do it manually, and you have to understand what apps to allow or block. On one hand, you may be impacting productivity because users may be using them for a good purpose. On the other hand, if you allow everything, then again, you're risking your security. And since they are coming out new every day, you have to keep on monitoring them, right? And there are many SaaS apps that you may be using, right? Google, Microsoft, or Slack, and many other apps. Every apps have their own marketplace. So how do we help you manage and control these apps, right? So what we introduced in is called interconnected SaaS security, especially with the GenAI apps focused, where the solution as part of SSPM, our SSPM solution, allows you to connect to these marketplace apps through API, and we automatically discover these plugins that have been installed by the users, and we categorize them into what type of plugin is this. Is there a GenAI plugin, and who are the users who are using them, and what kind of permissions these plugins have in the environment, what data they have access to, and what is the risk these plugins bring in, right? Meaning whether it is a access that is intrusive, whether it is access that has data security implications, and whether these users who are supposed to follow compliance requirements and they are not supposed to have those plugins, or whether it has been used by a group of users, or whether it's used in a workspace that you want to control. Then we provide options for you to control, meaning that we can allow you to revoke that plugin for a particular user if the user is supposed to be a compliant user not using this plugin, or revoke this plugin for the entire org so that nobody can use this plugin if it is a risky plugin that nobody should be using, right? At this time, we connect to 7 different marketplaces, such as Google Workspace, Office 365, through Azure Marketplace, Atlassian for Jira and Confluence, Salesforce, ServiceNow, Slack, and Zoom. So these are marketplaces we connect to identify what plugins users have installed, how they are using them. Right. We also enhanced our Copilot. So Copilot is our tool that allows you to understand or get help for like an admin or monitor and visibility queries that you can make. So the Copilot will simplify those for you. As part of the Copilot, we also provide recommendations for high-risk plugins. So the Copilot monitors for these high-risk plugins installation and alerts you whenever it sees a high-risk plugin that it sees, and then you should take a view at it and either review or control or revoke access to those permissions. Right? The recommendations help you understand if there is a plugin that's been installed by somebody that may be risky to your environment. So when, as part of the plugins discovery dashboard, we introduced GenAI plugins category. So we help you understand what level of GenAI plugins have been installed in the environment, how many of those plugins are there, who are the users who are using them, and how many of them that you have already reviewed, or maybe you need to take a look at those plugins and see how they are allowed or not. Right. Some of these plugins, for example, ChatGPT, a lot of times, as an enterprise, as a company, that you may or may not want to allow such apps to exist because it may be a security privacy risk. But these plugins may have been installed as a plugin. These apps may have been installed as a plugin, which is still the same risk because it provides access to data that may be subjected to privacy and compliance issues, right? For example, ChatGPT for Gmail has access to all your email, and typically they have access to read, write, and all the things with all sensitive emails as well, right? When you look at the permissions, then you can clearly see what level of access this plugin has, right? And within the plugin dashboard, we also provide what is that plugin, which marketplace it's belong to, who is the publisher, some information about the plugin and the risk that plugin carries. So you can see whether this plugin is the right plugin for you. The dashboard provides you more details about the plugin, about the users, and what state it is in, and it take a look and then take action based off of that. So here is the good thing. To enable this plugin discovery, there is no special license you need. If you have SSPM license, it is included as part of SSPM license. It is automatically included when you onboard a new app for SSPM, and that we have a marketplace support for that app. For example, Google Workspace. Right? If you already have this app onboarded, you may have to re-authenticate. Once you re-authenticate, you will see this third-party plugin scan. Then this plugin scan is enabled. And as part of that plugin scan, we scan for GenAI apps, and then we provide the GenAI category for you to filter and see those plugins installed. Right. So what are the use cases for this? Like you talked about, this is to identify if users have installed GenAI plugins outside of your environment within the cloud environment for SaaS apps, like such as Google Workspace, Office 365, and other marketplaces that we discover those plugins that are in use. We identify permissions, what level of access these plugins have within your environment, whether these these permissions have intrusive permissions such that it may risk your data security or data privacy or other compliance requirements. We identify the users who are using them, how many of those users are using them, And then we also allow you to help identify whether they have access to critical data, right? And we also provide a risk score. So you can use that risk score to identify whether these are risky apps and whether that may pose a threat to your data. And finally, like I said, you can control or revoke access to these plugins, either for an individual user if the user is subjected to a compliance requirements, or revoke it for entire organization or workspace if it's deemed risky for your environment, right? Um, some of the new features that we introduced as part of SaaS security is not only as a manual revoke, you can also do through policy, right? You can create a policy to say, these are some of the risky apps, risky plugins in my environment. I don't want to allow anybody to install this plugin or use these plugins. So we provide that option now through policy-based access control automation. So you'll be able to do it automatically. So whenever somebody installs new, then you automatically remove that plugin from them, so they don't get to expose your risks. So now let's take a look at in the product how it looks. So here is our Strata Cloud Manager, our command center. That's our main dashboard to show you high-level view of all things happening in the network, including the number of apps that you're using, SaaS apps, private apps, and GenAI apps. I also have a way to filter GenAI apps only if you want to see all the AI apps usage in your environment. This way, this shows you all the apps, all the GenAI apps used in your environment, right? If you click on View All GenAI Application, it takes you to what we call as AI Command Center. This is your AI Access Security dashboard that provides you a 360 view of all GenAI apps usage, clearly defined by the use cases, and also from a data security standpoint and threat standpoint, where you have data risks or threats in the environment, including the plugins. So this is where the plugins show up as number of plugins the users have installed, who are the users, number of users who are using them. And additionally, the Copilot makes a recommendation whenever it sees a high-risk plugin. So here is one of the recommendations that says to review a GenAI plugin with high severity access scopes. So when you click on the view recommendation, it provides you a clear explanation of what this plugin is, and then where do you go and review it. You simply click on reviewing, and then it takes you directly to the plugins page where you can review these plugins, right? So for example, if you look at the number of plugins I've installed, or high severity plugins, they are whether they have been reviewed or how many of them have not been reviewed, meaning somebody has installed them new since the last time you reviewed, right? And then unsanctioned, number of plugins that are unsanctioned, and a number of plugins that are classified as GenAI plugins, right? And within them, the categories of whether it's reviewed or not, number of users using them. So if you look at the chart below here, it shows you the GenAI apps. So here is the filter that specifically filters on GenAI apps. So you can see all these apps here. These are the different apps that users have installed. And like I showed in the example, ChatGPT, right? If you click on ChatGPT, it'll show you what kind of app or what kind of plugin is this, and who are the users who are using them, and what is the risk for this plugin, clearly explaining, why the risk score is and what does the risk score mean, and whether, more importantly, whether this plugin uses the data that you supply in model training, right? That's more critical, especially to give access to sensitive data, whether the sensitive data could be used in the model training and it will be in public, right? That's more critical to understand. So we give you that visibility, whether it has access to the data and use it in model training. And finally, whether there is a policy exist, and if you want to revoke, you simply click on revoke to revoke this plugin. In cases where you have different teams that's managing controls or security controls, InfoSec team, then you can simply file a ticket through Jira or ServiceNow that we support. and that way you can follow up with for further actions, right? In terms of permissions, if you see this has intrusive permission to your emails. Obviously, ChatGPT for Gmail allows you to summarize or read or write emails. To obviously it has access to your emails, full access to your emails. So you can understand what permission it has, whether it is the right plugin for your environment or not. So you can also revoke from here. So for example, you can simply select the app and revoke. This will revoke for the org, right? If this is not the right plugin. If this is an acceptable plugin, then you can simply mark it reviewed. So that way this is an acceptable plugin for you, right? This table lists all the things about this plugin, including where this installed, what is the marketplace it's installed, and who are the publishers and who are the number of users who are using them, and what status it is, and whether it's already been reviewed or whether it is revoked, right? Things like that. So you can get a quick glimpse of what are these plugins and how can you control them here. And then you can also get a user's view, like if you are particularly interested in a one or a group of users that you want to monitor for what plugins they have access to, they have installed, then you can look at it that way to see who are the users using, what kind of plugins they're using, right? We also provide access to the library, this is a marketplace apps, right? This gives you a view of all the plugins that are already there in the marketplace. This is not the installed one. This is a list of all plugins in the marketplace. This is just to look at the plugins and see if somebody were to install this plugin, is it an acceptable plugin or not? So maybe if it is not, then you can create a policy ahead of time to block this plugin from being installed by somebody, right? So that's why we give you access to this marketplace list of plugins. Okay. And then from a policy standpoint, when you go to security configuration policies, add a policy there, you can create your plugin access control policy, right? When you create a plugin access control policy, now you can set your plugin. You can select your plugin that you want to allow, block, and that way you can enforce policy so that you're taking automatic action when somebody installs those plugins. Okay. Any other questions? Let's go back to the slide deck again. Okay, so that's about GenAI plugins. So basically, we identify GenAI apps installed as plugins outside of your environment. We understand what level of access they have, and then we provide you visibility into those plugins, and we provide you control so that you can allow or block those plugins if they are risky, right? The second part I'm going to talk about is the compliance updates as part of SSPM. Just to level set, SSPM is our posture security management platform that allows you to uh, understand the security configurations within SaaS apps to make sure they are following industry best practices, they are configured right, so they don't expose your data, right? So we connect to over 100 SaaS apps through API, and then we gather the security settings and then provide you a best practices recommendations for those settings. What is it supposed to be? For example, whether it has proper access control enabled, whether it has MFA required for users or admins, whether those are configured correctly, things like that. And then we provide you recommendation. And in some cases, we provide you automatic remediations. We can go and change those settings to meet with the best practices recommendation, right? That's our posture management solution. As part of the posture management solution, we have introduced a compliance dashboard. The compliance dashboard, before the AI addition, it used to track 8 different compliance standards. So we map each of these settings to the compliance standard and say whether this meets the compliance requirements or not, right? So now we've added 2 more, especially the AI related ones, that is EAU European Union AI Act. That's a new recommendation, new compliance requirement. And then the second one is the NIST AI risk management framework, right? Based on those two compliance requirement. Now we map the SSPM settings to this and tell you whether they are compliant or not, and what action can you take to meet the compliance requirement. Right? So let me quickly show what it looks like in the product before I turn it over to Himani. So when you go to posture security, you look at the compliance dashboard. These are the compliance that we mapped to today. Now with the two AI, it's 10 standards that we map to. If you look at the compliance, for example, a Act, you see the number of apps that we track and number of settings that meets or does not meet the compliance requirement, and what is the recommendation to meet the compliance, right? So you can also look at from the application or from the SaaS app compliance here as well. But this gives you overall view of all the compliance. You can also download this to take a report and then follow up from there. The NIST AI is another compliance that shows you number of settings that meets or does not meet, and whether it is a severity high, depending on the number of settings that does not meet. We show you whether it is a high severity risk right now, so you should take a quick look at, right? So that's how we help you meet the compliance requirement for some of the settings that require to be set in a certain way to meet the compliance. Okay. So at this point, that's my session. So I'm going to turn it over to Himani to give you a view of what is our AI bots discovery and control. Himani, take it over.
Thank you, Gaurav. Please allow me a few minutes to share my screen. All right, so AI bots, that is AI meeting bots, AI transcription. Please let me know if you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can.
All right, thanks. So what is it? As we all know, we spend 18 hours per week in the meetings. And when we spend that much time in the meeting, obviously the attention span is less. There is 45% of the working hour every employee spend in the meeting. There are professional reports for unproductive meetings. People say the meetings are not productive, or it's distracting, or it's impacting their workflow. And almost 90% of the employee have admitted that what they do is they are actually multitasking or falling asleep or doing something else. So with all of this going on, there is a rise into a bots, meeting bots. They can join the meeting, which can help definitely. So when the AI bots join the meeting, they increase the productivity. How they increase the productivity is like they can summarize it. It as a note taking, as a follow up. It saves 5 hours per week, or it can save them more data. It can enhance the accuracy because there's a no human, mistakes. A bot can take a good meeting, good notes for the meeting. It is very accurate. It does a real-time summary. There's a better collaboration and increase the productivity. All of them is a good stuff. We are happy about it, but everything comes with a price. So what can happen? The bot can introduce the security risk. What security risks they can introduce? The first security risk is privacy risk. Bots can join and record the conversation without participant knowledge. They can join, record the conversation, which may or may not include a personal conversation, and that can have a breach of privacy. It can also bot can have an inbuilt malicious activity. It can have a data theft. Uh, Also, they can give a hack on every point into the sensitive meeting. A bot they are automatically joined can be an outsider. So there's a insider bot or there can be outsider bot. And generally what happens in the meeting is somebody who is presenting with big audience like this today we are doing, nobody's looking for who joined or not joined. So if guest list is big, we avoid to, you know, go ahead and see everyone. Now, there is another problem with the deepfake technology. There are imposters. So AI can imposter the individual, get into this, and there is a big story about, financial fraud or theft where, somebody deepfake it, CFO's information and get some approved. So all those things are happening. What we want to do, what we want to do is we want to identify them. We want to block them automatically. But then we look at the existing technology, what we have. So can we rely on the network? AI bot do not traverse through the network security. So if you have firewall or Prisma access, they are not detecting towards the through the security device. So it's hard to detect. It's generally cloud to cloud, conversation. Can we rely on CASB? Traditional CASB focus only on the data configuration, not AI bots. Can we rely on the connected app and plugin? AI bot does not necessarily rely on the connecting app. So what Kural was explaining before, if there is an app and in the app there is basically plug-in into a existing SaaS API. At that time, it is really that you can detect, but AI bot is not rely on the application. They can join by syncing the calendar or some mechanism which is outside this. To answer all of this, we have introduced a meeting posture that can detect and protect against AI bot. So detect AI bot by joining the corporate meeting. Allow with the risk to pause your organization. So we have a dashboard, you'll see it in a meeting, or which was introduced under the posture security, meeting posture. Identify the meeting host, the number of the meetings that bot has joined in the past, and the present in upcoming meeting and presence in upcoming meeting. We can revoke the access. We can revoke the access on the selected meeting. We can revoke the access for every meeting. We can also report create a Jira ticket, and we can report about the plugin. We can use a multiple attribute for the AI bot to prioritize the plugin. So this is where it is lies. We'll see into the demo pretty soon. It is under the security posture and in the meeting, as you can see, this shows for last 7 days or last 24-hour days, meeting with the bot, how this is information just about the bot and the bot name. So as we can see that meeting can, you can see detail about the meeting. So let's see the demo really quick. It is to find out the AI bot, you will go to SaaS securities. From the SaaS security, you will go to posture security. We just saw the third party plugin a minute before, then we'll go see the meeting. In the meeting, you can do last 7 days or last 24 hours. Let's take the last 7 days. And the supported application, let's talk about the application which is being supported during the meeting. Meeting with the how many unique bots are there? There are 4 unique bots. How many external users are there? Then the total number of meetings details is here, bought by the meeting count. If you can see, this is our distribution of 4 unique bot on a different meetings, right? A fellow only used for 2, but the Firefly AI using 13. And how many external users are being seen there? Now, if we go and look at the bot itself, we have 2 options here. We can either manage ticket or revoke access. So let's check this out, manage ticket. In the manage ticket, they are talking about the meeting IDs. Then we talk about the subject, meeting type, and whether it's a external internal user, and the name of the this thing bot here, and who is the bot used by. Now we can create a Jira ticket or ServiceNow ticket. So suppose I want to create a ServiceNow ticket, I'll select ServiceNow ticket. I will select which is ServiceNow, which is already pre-configured. I will add a title. Um, check this one and create a ticket. I'm not going to create a ticket because unnecessarily there will be a ticket in ServiceNow and somebody has to take up option, right? There are more details. So as you can see, there are 10. By default, it's set in 10. You can do 25 to 100. And then you can see all the bots into one page. In this bot uses, you can see 1, 2, 3. How many are external? How many are internal? What is the risk level of the bot? Is this a GenAI data use? So is the GenAI application or not? Data use in training, this is one of the very important attribute when we talk about data use in training, because all the information about the meeting can be captured, summarized, and that data can be used to train the model of this GenAI application, which will be little more, you know, scary, because that data can not only store in the application, but it can basically put out again in one of the conversation. If somebody goes in the GenAI application and asks some conversation, hey, give me the example or what our Palo Alto is working as the next uh, product, the data can be popped out again. And then there is a use cases, like what use cases for GenAI application is. It's a conversation agent, meeting assistant, writing assistant. These are the use cases. So this conclude my demo and also conclude our webinar.